Hey Tiana, I just saw your email and I just saw your Facebook message too come through, like literally as I was hitting send on here. So I was like, oh, I will blah, 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 blah. I'll write her back when I'm done. But yeah, you're on, but you did do it. You did do it correctly, and I'm going to send it back. Send you an email back. I literally just got in from Bible study. So yeah, and I'm so excited you took advantage of the early bird special. So yeah, but in Bible study, we've been talking about grace. And tonight specifically, we talked about how do we receive God's grace and the application of grace. So the one thing that my pastor said was that although grace cannot be earned, it's not automatically accessed. So we can't earn grace by doing specific things and, trying to please God through our deeds. But then on the same token, it's not just automatically accessed either. And what he said was that it's accessed through our faith. So the scripture that he gave us was Romans 5:1-2. And this is paraphrasing. It says, those who have faith toward, it basically saying that those who have faith towards God can access the grace. Then he said, well, the other way that you can access it was by being humble. And that was 1 Peter 5:5. And it says, submit to your elders, submit to each other, and that God resists the proud, but grace is given to those who are humble. And a big key point that stuck out to me was the fact that he said that we submit to each other. He did, and he made a reference to the fact that not only do we submit to our leadership, but our leadership also submits to us. And he made a very good point about how sometimes pastors will preach about you from the pulpit, or they'll share something that they shouldn't have shared, or done something that they shouldn't have done, and they just say, oh, well, somebody needed that story, they had to be blessed, and they won't apologize to you. But he said, even as your pastor, I will submit to you as you submit to me. And I just love that, because he's my new pastor, and that gave me so much peace about having him as my leader, because I don't have to worry about, something I told him in confidence being preached from the pulpit, or if he did do something wrong, he's humble enough to say, you know what, Jennifer, even as your leader, I did something wrong. So I love that. So the first thing that I said was that we access it through faith. And the second way is that we access it through being humble. And if you're just coming on, I'm talking about grace in Bible study tonight and how we access grace in the application of grace. So when he started talking about the application of grace, he said living a godly life. So this is basically applying it to your life. And on the scripture he gave us for this was Titus 2:11-12. And basically the point that stuck out was denying ungodly and worldly lusts, living soberly. Hey Titus, live soberly, righteously for God. So the first way, because there's 5, if you're taking notes, is denying ungodly, worldly lust, living soberly and righteous for God. Then he said the second one, overcome temptation. James 4:6-7. Submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee. So submit yourself to God. Give your life to God. Follow his ways, read his words, spend time with him, dwell in his presence. And guess what? You're denying the ungodly and worldly lust, and you are overcoming temptation. So then the next one was, and this is number 3, overcome unworthiness. And the scripture reference was 1 Corinthians 15:9-10. And it says, for I am the least of the apostles, and this is paraphrasing again, guys. Who am I to be worthy? And then it says, but by the grace of God. But by the grace of God. So when you start feeling like you're unworthy, go to 1 Corinthians 15:9-10 and read that part. It says, and this was an apostle saying, but I am the least of the apostles. And he was saying, how am I worthy? And one thing my pastor said was that people are always saying, I'm not worthy of God's blessings, and I'm not worthy of this. And he says, stop saying that. And I totally agree. Stop saying that. You are worthy of his blessings. You are worthy of the things that he has for you. So when you start feeling like that, you should say, I used to be, so he said, you should reference it like this. I used to be so-and-so. I used to do X, Y, and Z, but By the grace of God, in 1 Corinthians 15, 9 through 12, I'm not that person anymore. I'm different. So that's how you overcome unworthiness. Hey, 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 the blessed remnant. Blessings to you too. What do I do when I feel stuck, like my relationship with God isn't moving? The first thing I would want to ask you is, what does your relationship with God look like? What does that relationship look like? And I'll help you with that. I'm going to move on to number 4, though, but answer that for me. And then it says, number 4, sufficiency and abundance. And he referenced Corinthians 11, 9 through 8. And it says, God, and the things that I wrote down, God makes all grace abound. And then it says, always having all sufficiency in all things. So, and then it says abundance for every good work. So that scripture means that God gives us everything that we need. And not only does he give us what we need, but he gives us more. Okay? And then 5, the last one, it says overwhelmed and you need help. And the scripture for that was Hebrews 4 and 16 and Hebrews 4 and 15. And in Hebrews 4 and 16, when you start feeling overwhelmed and that you need help, it says, come boldly to the throne of grace where we may obtain mercy and find help. So when you are starting to feel overwhelmed and you need help, you go boldly before the throne of grace and you'll obtain and find help. And he even gave us an example of that. So he literally sat down, pulled out a chair. He said, when you spend time with God, and this is for anybody. When you spend time with God, you clear out your distractions. You put your phone away. If you have roommates, tell them, look, you can't talk to me right now. Oh, shoot, I'm making tea. You can't talk to me right now. If you have kids, let them know mommy's going to be unavailable for a little while, etc. And then you go in and he put the chair there and he sat down in the chair. And when he sat down in the chair, there was worship music on. And he said, you just let the worship music minister to your spirit. And you let it just sing to God for you on your behalf. And then you can go into worship. And then you can go into praying or whatever else, the Lord leads you in that time. So and he was saying that's how you come before the throne boldly. Then the second scripture was Hebrews 4 and 15. And it says, sympathize. These are the things that I wrote down. Sympathize. God sympathizes with our weakness. He too was once tempted as we were, yet he did it without. He didn't sin even though he was tempted. So when we're overwhelmed and we need help, God sympathizes with us. He understands. He was once in our position. He was tempted by sin and all these other things. And guess what? He still didn't sin. So he understands what we're going through. So those were the 5 applications of God's grace. I'll repeat them one more time. Live a godly life. Overcome temptation. Overcome unworthiness. Sufficiency and abundance. And when you're overwhelmed and you need help. 5 different areas to help you apply God's grace to your life. So that's all I had. I just wanted to share with y'all what the lesson was. And yeah, I don't know if that person on there that asked me that question is still on here. Let me look. No, I think that she's gone. Thank you. Yeah, I think that she's gone. I really would have wanted to help her. Oh, you're here? I'm here, Leah. Okay, you're welcome. To answer your question, when you feel like your relationship with God is suffering, get back to that place of coming boldly. You're welcome. Coming boldly before the throne of grace. So the Hebrews 4 and 6, the one that I just said, that example that I gave you, clear out the distractions in your life, put on some worship music and just sit there before God and let God minister to you through the music. And put on worship music. Don't just put on anything. Put on some good worship music like Shayna Wilson, Pandora Station, Kim Walker-Smith, Pandora Station. Who else is a good worship station? Those are my 2 favorites. So you can start with those and just let God minister to you and then start opening his word. If you don't know where to start, get a devotional. Devotionals are great to show you where you need to go. And then whatever the word or the scripture was for that day, you meditate on that. And the more time, and just like, when you're in a relationship with your boo, you spend time with your boo. That's how y'all get always one. That's how your relationship grows and your relationship gets strengthened. So just like your relationship with God, if you're feeling like your relationship with God is being weakened and you don't really know where to start spending time with him. It's the same way. When your boyfriend doesn't spend time with you, you feel neglected. So imagine how God feels. So I hope that answers your question. This helps so much. Thank you. You are welcome, dear. I'm glad I could help you. Does anybody have any more questions before I hop off of here? Hi, Candy Girl 2013. I'm actually at the end, so you'll have to catch the replay. But, yeah. If you guys don't have any more questions, I'm going to hop off of here because I have plenty of work to do. But I wanted to share my Bible study lesson with you all. All right. Have a good night.